It had laid dormant for half a century when suddenly, in September of 2021, it exploded in a river of fire. The Cumbre Vieja volcano on the island of Palma in the Canary Islands. Fountains of flame, some several dozen metres high, a cloud also of ashes, and then unstoppable flows of lava that crept slowly down the mountain to the Atlantic Ocean. The eruption lasted a total of 85 days, completely destroying more than 1,000 homes, 70 kilometres of roads and 350 hectares of banana plantations also submerged. The heart then ripped out of the local economy. Perhaps the only silver lining that as the evacuation started so quickly, right as the first alerts were sounded, no one was killed. The day after the first eruption, the Spanish Prime Minister went straight to the site.
I would like to convey our total commitment, our unequivocal commitment that this eruption is not going to leave people behind, that they will not be damaged from an economic point of view, regardless of the fact that there are indeed irreparable consequences that we will not be able to respond to or replace.
Despite the reassurances, though, a year and a half later, the wounds of what happened are far from healed. About 100 people are still being housed in hotels, and many are still waiting for the aid promised by the government. The volcano itself remains silent, but the anger rumbles on. Well, Céline, Schmitt, Armelle, Exposito and Sarah Morris revisit the Cumbre Vieja volcano for France 24.
More than a year after the eruption at Cumbre Vieja ended, the volcano's crater is still smoking.
Is that the crater that swallowed up the Laguna district?
Yes, this was the mouth that spewed out all the lava in the last week of the eruption.
Lucia and her husband lost their home, engulfed by the river of lava. This is the first time they've returned to look close up at the source of the disaster.
It's as if a devil had killed everything that was here. Seeing it really upsets me. It brings back all the memories.
Their daughter is guiding this expedition. She was also on the front line the day of the eruption.
The fan began moving in a weird way, and I realized, oh my goodness, this is an earthquake.
I imagine that when you're told to evacuate, you have to make difficult choices. You couldn't leave with 14 suitcases, could you?
No, when you evacuate using a car, you can leave with whatever you want.
Like Sarai and her family, 7,000 people fled the river of lava. It spread over 1,200 hectares, swallowing up everything in its path.
Where's the coffee? I still don't know where you keep things in this house, Mum.
Sarai's parents were rehoused about 40 kilometres away from their daughter. It's temporary housing, largely financed by the state. Lucia won't ever forget the night she lost her home.
They didn't need to say anything to me. They just looked at me. I knew straight away something terrible was happening. That was the night the lava swallowed my home.
A few days before her house was destroyed, Lucia had begun writing a diary, which was later published.
That was my way of dealing with the fear I felt from the volcano. Lava upon more lava, in a hurry to reach the valley, to explore the shore, to engulf the fields and to rip up the last remaining houses.
More than 1,000 families lost their homes. Alexis finds it hard to believe his old life used to be just here. Buried beneath 50 meters of lava.
Mi casa estaría I think my house was probably more or less, well, I would situate it in relation to the old industrial zone. You see those pieces of buildings that stick out there? Well, it was there. It's very difficult to see your whole life's work destroyed. What my parents and grandparents built up no longer exists.
In just a few days, Alexis's life was turned upside down. He had to pack up so quickly he didn't have time to take out all the house's documents. He spent the last 6 months trying to prove he was the building's owner in order to claim 70,000 euros pledged by the state.
Since the eruption, the price of a parcel of land has multiplied by 4 or 5 times. So to buy land and rebuild a house like the one we had, not even 200,000 or 300,000 euros would be sufficient.
No lo podría hacer con 200.000, ni con 300.000 probablemente.
The disaster didn't just claim Alexis's house. It also prevents him from accessing his restaurant.
We're headed in the direction of Puerto Naos, an area that people still aren't allowed to visit.
Puerto Naos was one of the most popular parts of the island for tourists, but today it's empty. The neighbourhood was saved from the lava, but the authorities have kept it closed because CO2 levels are abnormally high. At the end of this street, Alexis can still make out his pizzeria. He's only allowed to visit it once every 2 months.
Venimos a diferentes puntos.
All the business owners here got together to act. We've compared our results with the administration's. It's possible that there's still gas, but we're sure that the levels are not uniform across the whole area.
Since the eruption, Alexis has survived on partial unemployment benefit. He's waiting for permission to reopen his business.
We feel abandoned, cheated, excluded. We've realized that the administration that's supposed to represent us doesn't. It's making our life even harder.
The victims of the island's volcano have joined together in associations. Alexis is attending a meeting of his group this evening.
Hi. How are you?
The goal is to keep up the pressure on the public authorities.
We'll do whatever it takes. People who don't live in La Palma don't know what's going on here. They think we've been given everything we needed. But no, there's a lot still to be done.
Apart from tourism, La Palma lives mainly off the production of bananas, which represent 50% of the island's GDP. These plantations flourish in the temperate climate, but the lava divided the island's main production area into 2.
What you can see there is probably a bunch of bananas dating from August 2021. One like that weighs 40 kilos. We harvest it in December or January. That little shoot there will take 10 months to produce any bananas.
Ricardo's family has lived off bananas for several generations.
Come this way. Do you see this root? You need to try to cover it up as much as possible to keep the moisture in. It'll thrive like that. I think if everything goes well, In July, August, we'll be able to have a banana tree here.
To move between his two production zones, Ricardo has to use this new road, built on top of the settled lava. The rock is 70 meters deep.
When you think about it, it's as if you're driving over your home, your family's, your friends' houses. It's really hard. It feels like I'm invading someone's private space, as if they were in their lounge watching television, and suddenly a car goes by.
To varying degrees, many of the island's residents are traumatized.
How are you doing?
The farmers are among those most affected.
We're probably not going to be able to harvest these fruits.
No, you're right. They're completely dehydrated.
On top of all these problems, we're probably going to lose the next crop.
The eruption damaged the island's hydraulic infrastructure, reducing the amount of water available for irrigation.
Personally, I feel totally empty. I don't feel like working or doing anything. I'm more worried about the future than what's happened. I see the future in a very dark way. And everything you need today to live is now 4 times more expensive.
Exhausted, Victor and Ricardo don't know how they're going to cope in the future.
A few days after the volcano's eruption, I was really confident. I had confidence in Europe, in the politicians and the administration. But the reality is that a lot of time has gone by. We've worked hard, we're indebted. We don't have any savings. And the money doesn't arrive. And when it comes, it's too little, too late, not enough.
In total, the eruption claimed the homes of more than 1,000 families. 100 people are still housed in hotels. More than 100 live in these prefabricated buildings, such as this new neighbourhood. 36 homes built by the Canary Islands government.
Hi, Carmen, how are you? How's the move going? Are you going to show me around your house?
Sure, come in.
Carmen's old house was one of the first to be engulfed by the lava. Her family had to spend the last year in a hostel.
Is that all your stuff?
Yes, that's all we've bought over the last year.
Of course, because you weren't able to take much. You had to get out quickly.
We just had enough time to take the dogs with us, and we left with my nephew and my children at 2:30 a.m. and the eruption began at 3 a.m. We're lucky to still be alive.
Carmen has furnished her new home with donations and 17,000 euros in state aid.
We had to buy all the equipment you see here. We left with nothing. We didn't have time for anything. Soon, they're going to bring me a table, chairs, and all the furniture we need. This year has been really difficult. I can't tell you how good it felt to get the keys to this place.
The threat of the volcano remains hanging over these residents. Every week, this group of scientists come to survey its activity.
We'll put it here.
Okay.
We'll walk right round the crater from a place where there is very little gas, because that's what we want to check on, and then we're going to fly over the zone where the sulfur dioxide level is high.
The levels of sulfur measured by the drone show the volcano is still active. In total, the eruption has created 6 new craters. Almost 85,000 tons of sulfur dioxide were emitted daily during the worst periods of the disaster.
We're just passing by the north zone. You can see there is a peak because this is where the levels are highest. There on the northeastern point of the crater.
A year ago, Victor was one of those tasked with surveying the volcano. He tells us La Palma will see other eruptions.
The last eruption was in 1971 here in La Palma, and there was a 50% chance of there being another eruption in the next 50 years. We reached 50 years in 2021, and the eruption happened. We don't know if it will be in 2, 4 or 20 years, but there will be another one in La Palma, El Hierro and Tenerife.
A year after the volcano erupted, La Palma is still struggling to get back on its feet. The damage caused is estimated at €1 billion. The island's people are now too well aware they live with the threat of a future disaster. The only uncertainty, when the next eruption will come.
Céline Schmitt, Armelle, Exposito and Sarah Morris revisiting the Cumbre Vieja volcano for France 24. Well, that's all from this week's edition. Of course, you can catch it and all the previous editions on our website at france24.com. More news coming up shortly. Thanks for watching.